Another returning member to the show coming up next. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about cloud.
Yeah.
Right? The next guy's one of the newest members of our A team. He's part of our CloudOps business unit. Tends to work over on the side of things that we tend to hang out on, being cloudy. Mr. Shon Harris.
Nick.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
What would you say you do here?
A little bit of every. I take those specifications from the engineer, the customers, and I give them to the engineers.
So I know you as the Spot guy.
Yep.
Right, the CloudOps guy.
Yep.
Anything to do with Spot, Ocean, Eco, Instacluster, all of those kinds of CloudOps kinds of things.
Yep.
That's where I sort of paint where you sit.
Yep.
That's not a side of the world I get in too much. I tend to stay more in the cloud storage side of the world, but at the same time, it's of interest to me. So I'm curious. There was a lot of announcements today made about cloud stuff. There was a lot of cloud storage stuff, which really geeked me out. But we also had Hayan come on and talk about some of the highlights there as well.
Yep.
What's some of the things you're most excited about? Any big announcements or things that you guys are making out of the Spot camp or that are big that people need to pay attention to?
You know, I think really diving into the intelligent data infrastructure aspect of the business. For a long time, we've been kind of separate but equal. Right? And it's been Spot by NetApp, Instacluster by NetApp. We saw today the rename of Instacluster to now it's NetApp Instacluster. We saw Cloud Insights become more accurate to what it actually does with data infrastructure intelligence. Man, these are all hard to keep up with. But I think it shows our commitment to the cloud. I think it shows our commitment to meeting our customers where their data is, no matter what the workload challenge is, no matter what technology they're running. NetApp has, and we saw it today, NetApp has this vision of what intelligent data infrastructure means, and it's about securing, controlling, accessibility, availability, and reliability. And that's really cool to see that story coming together on all aspects in a way that I don't think anybody else can do.
Yeah, and I look at how it ties into some of the things we talked about yesterday with Data Explorer, how we're doing classification and things like that. By the way, again, reminder in case you missed the show yesterday, data classification is now free to all NetApp customers within Blue XP. And that is going to transcend into things like Cloud Insights and your ability to provision workloads based on some of that classification. So turn it on. Yep. Costs nothing. It's free to use. If you have workloads in the cloud, if you're delivering workloads in Blue XP, regardless of what protocol you're using, you can actually just turn it on, and it'll start classifying and building a metadata store. If you remember Krish talking about it, the global metadata store. Lots of things to go over here as well. In cloud storage specifically, I was really excited to hear that there's been a growth of 20% in customers, 114% growth in the last 12 months in capacity. We finally crossed 1 exabyte, I should say. And 140% of that has been in block storage.
Did you ever see
that?
Did you
caught
ever,
me
as
off
a
guard.
sysadmin, because we're both ex-sysadmins.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that you'd see that scale of block storage?
No,
never.
I really didn't. And I'm looking down at this, going.
These numbers are staggering.
These are staggering, and these are just in the last 12 months, guys. 3 out of this is the one that always catches me off guard because I've been saying this for years about our cloud storage platforms. 3 out of 5 new customers are also new to NetApp. I remember I think it was 2021, I spoke at reInvent, and I was doing a booth presentation for someone, and I said some of the biggest customers that have never been NetApp customers found NetApp by using FSx for NetApp ONTAP in AWS.
And now we've extended that to all 3 clouds.
Exactly.
Right? We've got the ANF. And you saw the announcement about the AVS migration service. The thing they didn't mention is that now Microsoft has 5-year RIs that you can use, scale out your VMware, figure out what you're going to do long term, and then turn around and convert that into a direct compute RI at the same time.
Not only that, but then be able to use they've got the Gen AI toolkit now that will connect to OneLake in Azure without moving data, folks. That was the key thing that I don't think was emphasized enough. You're just attaching OneLake to your Azure NetApp Files volumes.
And
like,
I think
that is crazy that we can do that now.
That's crazy, but I think it also shows how we're bringing the portfolio together.
Yeah.
We're bringing that orchestration for your containers. We're bringing that automation for your virtual machines. We're handling your data at scale in a way that nobody else can. And that was so cool to watch. And for as sunny and hot as it is outside, it's a cloudy day here at the MGM Grand. You know, I was reading, before I came up, I wanted to say I was reading kind of the live chat, and there was a comment in there that this post keynote live stream is really redefining how our customers get information too, because they're like, Nick is breaking the cloud down so effortlessly.
Yeah.
And it's so refreshing to hear simple explanations of what people think are complicated.
Yeah.
And NetApp has taken cloud operations, on-prem operations, and made them simple. And we saw that with that 1 minute demo of standing up a new storage array.
Yeah.
And it was just awesome to see how customer focused we are and where our technology is heading and how we are the leader in all things cloud and all things on-prem.
It's really been a focus of Drew and I over the last, I'd say 3 years specifically, to make sure that we're meeting people where they are.
Yep.
And that's sort of the community focus. We took a chance on Discord. It's paid off.
Oh, yeah.
We see a lot of big potential in future there, kind of becoming the hub of the wheel of things. But this show, as it's still in its infancy. It's not even 2 years old yet. We're not even, I think we're on 38 episodes or something like that. But I look at it as it's a vehicle to deliver information directly to the customers. And if you look at something like a keynote the last 2 days, they're extremely heavily scripted and produced productions for the right reasons, right? Because there are these big moving pieces. Having casual conversations like this with and bringing NetApp people directly to the end users via these community platforms is so valuable. And
I mean, we just had the CISO of the company sitting down with you and talking about hacking in Paris and John the Ripper, and I'm like,
it's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How do I
want to talk to her about that for an hour.
Right. We could sit here and interview her just about security stuff, right? Like, we're both from that background. We just happen to take two different cloud paths.
Yeah. One other thing I want to highlight here, we talked about it for ANF, but the Gen AI toolkit, I need to get Mike Oglesby back on here. Mike, I'm sorry I didn't get you on the lineup, but we'll see if we can sneak you in. I mentioned Azure OneLake. Not only that, but we've also got it for GCP with Vertex and BigQuery.
And DGX, if you're an NVIDIA customer,
and
right? And
that ties right into the agent builder stuff for low-code, no-code development. Excuse me. And in my head, I'm going, could I chatbot the build using GCNV? This whole thing could be automated using Google Cloud NetApp Volumes or Azure NetApp Files or some of the stuff we're doing with Bedrock and AWS with FSxN. It's, guys, you thought we were done just by standing up a sort of virtual storage system, first-party storage service. That was the first step. Now we're getting to the meat. And this is where things really start to become important. So take all of that I just said and then stick it into Blue XP, where you can also connect it to your on-prem storage systems.
Common namespace across clouds.
As Chris said yesterday and today, the global metadata namespace that we're putting together with that, and then you can use Data Explorer in Blue XP to be able to look at all of your data footprint across clouds and on-prem.
It's going to change.
This is phase 2, guys. Like, we were updating all the storage systems. We implemented all of those first-party storage solutions going all the way back to 2016. It's been 7 years, 8 years now almost. We got all that done. Now we're going into phase 2. Now things are getting serious, because now we're bringing workload delivery. Now we're bringing efficiency, all of the things that you can deliver now.
And helping you manage it at scale.
Yeah.
Right? Cost is the hardest thing about the cloud to manage. Ask any C-level. What's your biggest problem? How do I manage my cloud cost? We give you the observability into your cloud. We give you the observability into your infrastructure, because now you can do that troubleshooting and go end to end and figure out where your bottlenecks are. And we can do ransomware protection, right? We're taking we're bringing the next generation of AI to market.
So to validate that point, we even got the kind of mic drop moment from Samit from Google Cloud, who said Google Cloud NetApp Volumes will now have first priority to Vertex AI. Meaning, when you go in to connect storage to it, the first option you're going to see to choose from there is Google Cloud NetApp Volumes.
And why would you choose anything else?
Why would they do that? I don't know.
Because it's cost efficient too, right? Like, I think
performance, cost, all of those things. This all matters, and I think ultimately when you take everything we're talking about there and then you tie it into workloads with things that we're doing in our CloudOps portfolio.
Sir, it's not CloudOps anymore. We got renamed. It's
we did.
Intelligent Infrastructure Services.
Oh. Did I miss that in the keynote today?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay. I was busy prepping.
That's how big this keynote was. When was the last time cloud has been this heavily prevalent at a storage conference?
2018, probably?
2018, when you first bought Spot, when we were thinking about InstaCluster. And you look at how these products have grown and how they've adapted to the changing market. That next generation of Gen AI and machine learning and RAG, you're going to need that orchestration, and we can help you do it at scale. And it's just so cool to watch how these products evolve from behind the scenes and then see how our customers use it, like DreamWorks today.
Yeah. Tell me a story about one of the coolest things that you've seen a customer do over the last year.
Oh, the coolest thing.
I'm gonna throw you a curveball. What's one of your favorite like side story things that you've seen a customer leverage, whether it's any of the Spot portfolio or some of our cloud storage or Gen AI or anything like that? What are some of the things that you're seeing?
The DreamWorks, the way we've highlighted our partnership with DreamWorks comes to mind right up because it was in the keynote today. But you don't realize digital animation in those films, how much data they take to process and storage. Just hearing about that at scale and then watching companies ingest IoT data and orchestrate it around. There's a customer that uses different aspects of the NetApp portfolio, but they use it to ingest industrial sensor data and then run analytics on it so they can predict failures on industrial sensors. Then you know when your stuff's going out, right? It's all the stuff that Watson was trying to do at IBM a few years ago, and they had the elevator commercial. And watching that now come into reality because we put that AI, and AI has moved so far in the last 5 years since they released that campaign. And then watching NetApp be a partner in how you store that data and how fast that data moves, it's just amazing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'll throw one in there. I won't name the name. There's a company that all they do is make catalytic converters. Now, catalytic converter is part of your exhaust system on your car. Doesn't sound real exciting, right? However, what goes into a catalytic converter? There's a piece of honeycomb that's in there that has to be the right spec size, but what is in that honeycomb that makes it a catalytic converter? Do you know?
All the metals.
Platinum. Precious metals,
all
right?
All the precious metals.
There's a slurry, the platinum slurry that has to get dipped in, right? This all used to get done and assembled and managed by hand. And they've now gotten it so efficient using the cloud, using IoT, tens of thousands of generating sensor data. They're now to the point where they're spending more on infrastructure to support the manufacturing line and the safety and security of that platinum stuff, because it's very, very expensive, rare, precious metal, right? To keep all of that in check. They're now spending more on that infrastructure than they are their traditional IT infrastructure. Wild. So that's something that I had heard about recently that's really foundational for me.
And you know, the other thing that sticks out is last year at Insight, I talked to the Aston Martin team about how they use NetApp and just kind of got into that. Because I do cloud stuff now, but I'm an old school storage guy. And when they were talking about how much data each car generates. And then getting to nerd out on that and then watching how it's grown as F1 has taken off, as it's come to America. We see it in Las Vegas in November. All that data that's generated, stored on NetApp so that they can, on NetApp infrastructure, so they can predict what's going to happen and train better. It's just fascinating to watch how this data is being transformed and transforming how people do their business.
We had Matt Watts on to close out last night, and he did that. He was telling us about his episode of The Futurist, where they use the Aston Martin F1 team. He told me one funny thing. I don't know if you knew this. They can't start the car without their FlexPod.
No, I did not know that.
Because of all of the sensors and the data and everything on there, they have to have it dialed in just right to be able to start the car. That is insane to me that we've gotten to that point in infrastructure and data and management and everything. You can't start an F1 car without I remember we're going to have to start keeping FlexPods in our cars now, just our the half racks.
It's the next battery pack, right?
Right. Well, Shon, this has been fantastic, man.
Nick, always a pleasure to sit down and join with you and work with you and get a couple minutes to just wrap and nerd out for a bit.
Yeah, I love doing this. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Talk soon.